The massive alien ship hung in the sky above New York like a strange metal cloud. It had appeared 3 days ago, and the world had not been the same since. Commander John Miller stood at the landing zone, trying to keep his breathing steady as he waited for the aliens to exit their ship. "Steady," John said to the team behind him. His voice was calm, but his hand rested on his gun. Dr. Lisa Baker stood nearby, clutching her tablet. She was the best xenobiologist on Earth, though until now, she had only studied theory. "Here they come," she whispered. The ship's door opened with a hiss. Light poured out, and 6 figures walked down the ramp. They were tall, with blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer. Their eyes were large, and they had 4 arms each. "I am Ambassador Xylox of the Vexari, representatives of the Galactic Confederation," the lead alien said in perfect English. "We come in peace and friendship." John stepped forward. "Commander John Miller of the Earth Defense Force. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you." Xylox's large eyes blinked slowly. "So small," he said, looking at the humans. "So soft." Lisa noticed something in the alien's voice. It wasn't quite mockery, but close to it. The other aliens were looking at the humans with what seemed like surprise. "We've been studying your broadcasts for decades," Xylox continued. "Your planet interested us greatly." "We're happy to establish diplomatic relations," John said. "We have much to offer." One of the aliens behind Xylox made a sound like a laugh. John pretended not to notice. Over the next few hours, the 2 groups talked. The aliens explained that the Galactic Confederation included over 300 species from thousands of worlds. Earth would be welcomed as a junior member, with access to trade and technology. "May I ask a question?" Lisa said during a break in the talks. Xylox turned his large eyes to her. "Of course. I notice your team seems surprised by us. Is there something unexpected about humans?" The alien paused before answering. "Your species is unique in some ways, not what we expected from your broadcasts." Lisa wasn't satisfied with this answer. She reached for a bottle of water, accidentally knocking it over. As she caught it before it hit the ground, she noticed all the aliens flinch. "Sorry," she said, confused by their reaction. "Your reflexes are quite good," Xylox said carefully. Later, as the meeting continued, Lisa demonstrated some basic human abilities: running a short distance, lifting a heavy box, climbing a ladder. Each time, the aliens watched with strange intensity. "We would like to study human physiology," Xylox said near the end of the day, "for diplomatic purposes, to better understand our new friends." "I don't see why not," John replied. "As long as it's mutual, we'd like to learn about you too." "Of course," Xylox said, but something in his voice made Lisa uneasy. That night, after the aliens had returned to their ship, Lisa met with John in a secure room. "They're afraid of something," she said. "Did you see how they reacted when I caught that water bottle? When Joe did those push-ups? They're specifically interested in our physical capabilities." John nodded slowly. "I noticed. But why would advanced aliens fear humans? They have ships that can cross galaxies. We can barely reach Mars." "I don't know," Lisa said, "but they keep using words like soft and limited when describing us. Yet they seem nervous." "Keep watching them," John said. "The president has approved technology exchanges beginning next week. This could be the greatest opportunity in human history. Or the greatest threat," Lisa added quietly. As they spoke, aboard the alien ship, Xylox was sending a message to the Confederation Council. "Humans confirmed as Type 4 endurance species. They show all the warning signs. Recommend immediate classification as Class D civilization for safety protocols. Further study needed to determine full threat level." 6 months had passed since the aliens arrived. Earth had been officially welcomed into the Galactic Confederation with much fanfare. New technologies flowed to Earth, though Lisa noticed they were mostly medical and agricultural advances, nothing that could be used for defense. Lisa now worked in a joint research facility with alien scientists. She had learned their language and gained their trust, but something still bothered her. Today, she found out what it was. What does Class D mean? She asked the Vexari scientist she worked with. She had seen the term on a file about Earth. The alien looked uncomfortable. It is just a classification system. All new species receive a rating. Based on what? Lisa pressed. Various factors. Technology level, resource development, cultural advancement. Lisa knew he was hiding something. Later that day, she accessed the Confederation database with her new clearance. What she found made her angry. Class D was the lowest combat capability rating. Earth was officially classified as minimal threat, with notes about humans being physically vulnerable and poorly adapted for warfare. Lisa immediately called John Miller, who was now Earth's military liaison to the Confederation. "They think we're weak," she said when they met. "All those tests they did on us. They were checking our combat potential." John frowned. "That explains a lot. Captain Grant just told me his ship keeps getting assigned to non-combat zones. The aliens won't let human crews join any defensive missions." Captain Alan Grant had been one of the first humans to command a ship with Confederation technology. He was a good man who had worked hard to prove humans could handle advanced tech. "There's more," Lisa said. "They've been measuring us against species with natural armor, venom, claws. Things we don't have, but they're not measuring our endurance or adaptability. Or our ability to use tools," John added. "No one evolves claws if they can build a knife." For the next few weeks, Lisa and John watched how the aliens treated humans. It was always with a kind of polite dismissal. Humans were the soft ones, or the vulnerable species in alien conversations. One night, Alan called them to his ship. "Look at this," he said, showing them a restricted star chart. "The red areas are active conflict zones with a species called the Kraxan. Notice anything?" John studied the map. "All human ships and stations are at least 2 systems away from any danger zone. They're protecting us," Lisa realized. "Like we're children. Or they're hiding something," Alan said. The next day, Lisa ran a simple test. During physical training, she deliberately cut her hand on a tool. The wound was small, but the alien scientists reacted with horror. "You are injured," one shouted. "You must go to medical immediately." "It's just a small cut," Lisa said, confused. "It will heal in a few days." The aliens looked at each other in shock. "You can regenerate tissue." Lisa almost laughed. "Of course, can't you?" The lead scientist's eyes widened. "Not without medical intervention. No Confederation species naturally regenerates damaged tissue at your rate." Lisa thought about human healing, how cuts sealed, bones knit back together, even how liver tissue regrew. Things she had taken for granted. That night, she met with John and Alan again. "They're afraid of us," she said, "not because we're strong, but because we're different. They have specialized evolutionary paths with specific advantages. We're generalists. And they're keeping us in the dark," John said. "The question is why." As they spoke, an emergency alert sounded. A Kraxan pirate ship had attacked an Earth research station. The station had minimal defenses and only basic weapons. The aliens expected it to fall within hours. They were wrong. Security Chief Kate Jones had been on Europa Station for only 3 weeks when the attack came. The research station orbited Jupiter's moon and housed 30 scientists and 10 security personnel. The Kraxan pirates struck without warning. Their ship was small but heavily armed. They expected an easy victory against the weak humans. "Defensive positions," Kate shouted as alarms blared throughout the station. She grabbed her standard-issue weapon and ran to the control room. The Kraxan were a reptilian species with natural armor plates and sharp claws. They stood 7 feet tall and were known for their aggression. 5 of them had already broken through the outer airlock. "We need to hold them off until help arrives," Kate told her team. "Confederation forces are 8 hours away." 8 hours? One of her officers asked. We can't last that long. Kate's eyes narrowed. Watch us. The Kraxen moved through the station, expecting to find cowering, helpless humans. Instead, they met organized resistance. Kate had positioned her people at key junctions, using the station's layout to create choke points. When the first Kraxen turned a corner, 3 security officers opened fire. The pirate's armor deflected some shots, but not all. He fell back, surprised by the humans' coordination. They're using the ventilation shafts. Someone shouted over the radio. Kate thought quickly. Redirect coolant flow to the north section shafts. Now, the station's engineer looked shocked. The temperature will drop to -40 degrees. Do it, Kate ordered. Minutes later, they heard howls of pain as the cold-blooded Kraxen in the ventilation system were hit by freezing air. 2 pirates crawled out, their movements slow and sluggish in the cold. Kate's team captured them easily. Hours passed. The humans had no time to rest. The pirates kept coming, but Kate's team kept fighting. When their main weapons ran low on power, they switched to emergency sidearms. When those failed, they used tools as weapons. One scientist built makeshift bombs from lab equipment. Another created smoke screens from chemicals. The station's cook even joined the fight, using kitchen knives with surprising skill. 24 hours into the attack, Kate had been awake for over 30 hours. Her arm was burned from a pirate's energy weapon. She ignored the pain, wrapped the wound, and kept fighting. The Kraxen couldn't understand. In their culture, a wound like Kate's would take a warrior out of battle. Yet the humans fought on despite injuries, despite exhaustion. By the time 36 hours had passed, the pirates were the ones hiding. 3 humans had died, but they had taken 7 Kraxen with them. The remaining pirates were confused and frightened. These humans wouldn't stop. They kept adapting, kept fighting. What are they? The Kraxen leader hissed to his second. The Confederation said they were weak. At hour 72, Confederation ships finally arrived. They expected to find the station destroyed or captured. Instead, they found most of the pirates either dead or in makeshift cells. The humans were wounded, exhausted, and triumphant. Ambassador Xylox himself came aboard the station. He found Kate in the medical bay, refusing treatment until her team was cared for first. How? Xylox asked simply. How did you survive for 3 days against Kraxen warriors with superior weapons and natural armor? Kate looked up at him with bloodshot eyes. We adapted. We improvised. We didn't give up. She stood on shaky legs. Is that what you mean by weak? Xylox said nothing, but his expression showed a new emotion. Fear. That night, he sent another message to the Confederation Council. Urgent reclassification needed. Humans fought beyond all biological limits. They did not stop when injured. They did not rest. They used their environment as a weapon. This changes everything. News of the Europa Station defense spread quickly through the Confederation. The official report called it a lucky victory. But Dr. Lisa Baker knew better. Something had changed in how the aliens looked at humans. 2 weeks after the attack, Dr. Peter Williams joined the research team. He was a military scientist with a background in biology. John Miller had sent him to help Lisa dig deeper. They'd increased their study of us. Peter told Lisa as they walked through the research center. The Confederation has launched a special investigation into human capabilities. Lisa nodded. I've noticed more tests, more questions. They seem especially interested in our healing and stamina. That night, they compared notes on alien physiology. Peter had gathered data on 12 different Confederation species. Look at this pattern, Lisa said, pointing to her tablet. Every species has a specialized evolutionary path. The Vexeri have 4 arms and incredible fine motor control. The Kraxen have natural armor. The Laveri can breathe underwater. But none have our combination of traits, Peter added. Our endurance, our healing, our adaptability to different environments. We're generalists in a galaxy of specialists. Lisa said. The next day, a new group of Confederation scientists arrived. They'd brought advanced equipment and asked for human volunteers for more tests. Lisa and Peter signed up immediately. The tests were strange. How long could humans hold their breath? How much pain could they tolerate? How quickly could they solve problems under stress? "They're not studying us as friends," Peter whispered to Lisa during a break. "They're studying us as potential threats." That night, Peter decided to take a risk. Using computer skills he hadn't mentioned to the aliens, he accessed a restricted database in the Confederation network. What he found shocked him. "Look at this," he said to Lisa in their secure room. "There's a whole classification system for dangerous traits in sentient species." Lisa read the list on his screen. Rapid healing, high pain tolerance, extreme endurance, psychological resilience, environmental adaptability, problem solving under stress. "That's us," she said quietly. "These are all human traits." "There's more," Peter said, scrolling down. "Species with 3 or more of these traits are considered unpredictable and potentially dangerous. We have all 6. Lisa sat back, stunned. "But why classify us as weak?" "Think about it," Peter said. "If you met a species that could take incredible damage and keep fighting, that never gives up, that can turn anything into a weapon, would you tell them how dangerous they are, or would you try to keep them in the dark?" The next day, Lisa watched the aliens with new eyes. She noticed how they flinched when a human researcher worked through lunch without a break, how they whispered when another human quickly recovered from a minor injury. "We need to tell John," Lisa said to Peter that evening. Before they could call him, alarms sounded throughout the facility. A medical emergency. Lisa and Peter rushed to the lab where a human and Vexari scientist had been exposed to a chemical spill. The human was already being treated, coughing but conscious. The Vexari was unconscious, his breathing shallow. "His system is shutting down," the alien doctor said. The toxin overwhelmed his defenses. "But they were both exposed to the same amount," Lisa said. The doctor looked at her strangely. "Yes, but your colleague's system immediately began fighting the toxin. Incredible cellular response. The Vexari, we are not built for such resistance." Later, when the crisis had passed, Peter looked at Lisa. "That's why they're afraid. We're poison resistant, radiation resistant, cold resistant, heat resistant. We adapt to everything." "We need to talk to Earth leadership," Lisa said. Now, John Miller listened carefully as Lisa and Peter explained what they had discovered. They sat in a secure room at Earth's headquarters in Geneva, with Captain Alan Grant and Security Chief Kate Jones also present. Kate had been brought back from Europa Station as a hero. "Let me get this straight," John said when they finished. "The Confederation classified us as weak, not because we are weak, but because they're afraid of us." "Exactly," Lisa said. "They evolved as specialists. Each species developed specific advantages for their homeworlds. But those advantages came with limitations." Peter opened his tablet and showed them diagrams of different alien species. "The Vexari have 4 arms with amazing dexterity, but their bones break easily. The Kraxan have natural armor, but they can't regulate their body temperature. Every species traded something to hit their special trait. Except humans," Kate added. "We don't have any amazing abilities, but we don't have major weaknesses either." Alan leaned forward. "We're the ultimate generalists. Jack of all trades, master of none. But better than a master of one." Lisa finished with a smile. John stood up and paced the room. "So what exactly are they afraid of?" Peter pulled up the list of dangerous traits he had found in the Confederation database. "First, our healing ability. Most species can't regenerate tissue naturally like we can. A cut that heals in days for us might be permanent for them." "Second, pain tolerance," Lisa continued. "Kate, you fought for hours with a burned arm at Europa Station. The Kraxan couldn't understand that." Kate nodded. "They retreated when injured. They expected us to do the same." "Third, endurance. Peter said. Humans can go days with little sleep, especially in crisis situations. Most Confederation species need regular rest cycles they can't interrupt. Fourth, psychological resilience. Lisa added, we adapt to new situations, handle stress, and keep functioning. The Confederation species tend to follow fixed patterns. Fifth, environmental adaptability. Peter said, humans live in deserts, Arctic regions, mountains, and jungles. We can survive extreme conditions that would kill most specialized species. And sixth, Lisa finished, problem solving under pressure. We get more creative when threatened, not less. John stopped pacing. So our greatest weakness is actually our greatest strength, Lisa said. We don't have claws or armor or 4 arms. Instead, we got adaptability. That's why they classified us as weak, Peter explained. They're keeping us in a box, giving us only certain technologies, keeping us away from conflicts. They're containing us, John realized. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. What do we do now? Alan finally asked. John's face hardened. We tell Earth's leadership the truth. Then we show the Confederation exactly who they're dealing with. 3 days later, John, Lisa, Peter, Alan, and Kate presented their findings to the President and Earth's Security Council. Evidence was shown, theories explained, and plans discussed. We don't want conflict, the President said after their presentation. But we won't be patronized or contained. If we're going to be part of this Galactic Confederation, it will be as equals. The next day, John requested a formal meeting with Ambassador Xylox and the Confederation representatives. We know the truth, John said when they were all seated. We know why you classified us as weak. We know what you fear about us. Xylox's large eyes blinked rapidly. I don't know what you mean. John smiled. Then perhaps we need to give you a demonstration. Lisa stepped forward. Ambassador, we request a series of challenges, fair tests of our abilities against other Confederation species. She paused. Unless you're afraid to see what humans can really do. Xylox looked around at the other aliens, who shifted uncomfortably. Finally, he nodded. The Galactic Security Council will consider your request. As the aliens left, Kate turned to John. Do you think they'll agree? They don't have a choice, John replied. They're too curious about us now. And curiosity is another human trait they seem to share. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Security Council agreed to the demonstrations. The tests would take place on a neutral space station near the edge of Confederation territory. 5 human representatives would compete against champions from 5 different alien species. Captain Alan Grant led the human team, with Kate Jones, Lisa Baker, Peter Williams, and engineer Sam Collins joining him. Sam was a quiet man who rarely spoke but could fix anything mechanical. Remember, John told them before they left Earth, this isn't just about winning. It's about showing them who we really are. The space station was massive, with large viewing areas where hundreds of aliens from different species gathered to watch. The council members sat in a special section, with Ambassador Xylox among them. Welcome to the capability demonstrations, a council member announced. These tests will measure various skills in fair competition. The first challenge was survival. Alan and a Levery champion were placed in a sealed habitat with rapidly changing conditions. First freezing cold, then burning hot, then low oxygen, then high pressure. The Levery had special breathing organs and thick skin. He was expected to win easily. But hour after hour, Alan kept going. He shivered in the cold, sweated in the heat, breathed slowly when oxygen was low, and kept his movements minimal under pressure. After 12 hours, the Levery collapsed. Alan was still standing, exhausted but conscious. Impossible, whispered an alien in the crowd. His species has no special adaptations for these conditions. The second test was for Kate Jones. She competed against a 4-armed Vexeri in combat training. The Vexeri could handle multiple weapons at once with amazing skill. But Kate watched, learned, and adapted. She studied his patterns, found weaknesses, and used the environment to her advantage. When the Vexari attacked with practiced moves, Kate responded with unpredictable ones. In the end, her score was higher. The Vexari looked stunned. She identified his patterns. Lisa explained to the council. Humans excel at finding patterns and exploiting them. The third test challenged Peter against a Kraxan scientist. They were given a complex problem to solve with limited tools, and the oxygen in their chamber slowly decreased. The Kraxans started strong, but became confused as oxygen levels dropped. Peter's thinking slowed too, but he kept working, kept adapting. He finished the puzzle just before passing out. Human brains prioritize problem-solving even in survival situations. Lisa told the watching aliens, "We evolved to think under pressure." For the fourth test, Lisa herself competed against a Hellion healer. Both were cut with a sterile blade on their arms, a small, safe wound. The test was to see whose body would heal faster. The aliens watched in shock as Lisa's wound closed visibly over days, while the Hellions remained open. "We regenerate," Lisa said simply. "It's not special to us, but apparently it is to you." The final test was for Sam Collins. He and a Medusan engineer were given broken alien technology and asked to repair it with limited tools. The Medusan followed the proper procedures, but Sam tried approaches no alien would consider. He reproposed parts, combined systems in new ways, and even used his own belt as a tool. He finished hours before the Medusan. "How did you know that would work?" The alien asked Sam later. "That configuration isn't in any manual." Sam shrugged. "It seemed logical. If something doesn't work, I try something else." When the demonstrations ended, the council chamber was silent. Ambassador Xylox stood slowly. "We have underestimated humans," he admitted. "Your species lacks specialized adaptations, yet compensates with remarkable flexibility." John Miller stepped forward. "We don't want special treatment, Ambassador. We just want honesty. Earth deserves to know its true place in the galaxy." Xylox nodded slowly. "The Council will reconsider Earth's classification." He paused. "Though I'm no longer certain our classification system is adequate." As the humans left the chamber, Alan turned to John. "Do you think they understand now?" "They're beginning to," John replied. "But I suspect they're still afraid of what we might become." 3 days after the demonstrations, while the Council was still debating Earth's status, alarms sounded throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red as aliens ran to safety zones. "What's happening?" John asked a passing Vexari. "The Voidborn," the alien said, his voice shaking. "They've attacked the Confederation core worlds. It's a full invasion." The humans gathered in their quarters as reports came in. The Voidborn were a mysterious species from deep space who appeared every few centuries to raid Confederation worlds. This time, they had brought a massive fleet. "The Council is meeting now to coordinate defenses," Lisa said, checking her datapad. "All Confederation ships are being called to help." John's communication device beeped. It was Ambassador Xylox. "Commander Miller," the alien said, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "The Council requests Earth's assistance. This is unprecedented." Within hours, John, Kate, and Alan were in the Council chamber. The aliens looked desperate. "The Voidborn have adapted their attacks," a Council member explained. "Our specialized defenses are failing. The Kraxan armor is useless against their new weapons. The Vexari coordination tactics are being countered." "You need people who can adapt," John said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Xylox admitted. "Your demonstrations showed abilities we undervalued." John looked at Kate and Alan. They nodded. "Earth will help," John said, "but as full allies, not as subordinates." The Council agreed immediately. Within a day, all available human ships were heading to the front lines. John commanded the lead vessel, with Kate as his security chief. Sam Collins joined as chief engineer, while Lisa and Peter coordinated from the station. When they reached the battle zone, the situation was worse than expected. 3 Confederation worlds were already under attack. The specialized defenses of each species were failing against the Voidborn's adaptable strategies. They're targeting each species' weakness, Kate observed as they watched the battle data. They know exactly how to counter each Confederation advantage. Then let's show them something they don't know, John said. He divided the Earth ships into small, flexible units. While the Confederation forces followed their rigid battle plans, the humans constantly changed tactics. When the Voidborn adapted to one approach, the humans switched to another. Sam worked with alien engineers to modify their weapons on the fly. When standard shields failed, he created a rotating frequency system the Voidborn couldn't predict. Don't follow patterns, Kate shouted to both human and alien forces. Be unpredictable. Some aliens couldn't understand this approach, but others began to follow the humans' lead. Slowly, the tide of battle shifted. The turning point came when Kate led a small team onto a damaged Voidborn ship. The aliens had expected the humans to retreat when their first boarding attempt met heavy resistance. Instead, Kate's team found another way in, moving through maintenance tunnels too small for the larger Voidborn. They're inside the command ship, an alien captain reported with shock. The humans entered through waste disposal channels. Kate's team fought their way to the ship's core. 2 humans died, but the others kept going despite injuries that would have stopped most Confederation species. When they reached the control room, they disabled the ship's systems, leaving it dead in space. Sam then repurposed the Voidborn's own communication system to broadcast confusing signals to their other ships. The coordinated Voidborn attack fell into disarray. They're retreating, Elen reported as the Voidborn ships began to pull back. In the command center, Xylox watched the humans with new understanding. One had a broken arm but still worked her console. Another hadn't slept in 30 hours. A third had been exposed to radiation but refused medical treatment until the battle was won. "What are you?" Xylox whispered. John heard him. "We're human," he said simply. "This is what we do. We adapt. We survive. We protect our own." He paused. "And now, that includes the Confederation." As the Voidborn fleet disappeared into deep space, the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. 1 month after the battle with the Voidborn, Earth received a new classification in the galactic records. For the first time in Confederation history, a species was labeled unclassifiable. John Miller stood beside the president as Ambassador Xylox presented the new status in a ceremony broadcast across Earth and to all Confederation worlds. "Earth has shown qualities that defy our traditional categories," Xylox said, his voice carrying to billions of listeners. "Humans lack specialized evolutionary advantages, yet their adaptability, endurance, and innovative thinking proved decisive against our greatest enemy." Behind John stood Kate Jones, Alan Grant, Lisa Baker, Peter Williams, and Sam Collins. They represented the new face of humanity to the galaxy. After the ceremony, Xylox approached Lisa in private. "Dr. Baker, the Confederation Science Council has approved your proposal. We will establish a joint research center to study different evolutionary paths." Lisa smiled. "Thank you, Ambassador. I believe we have much to learn from each other." In the weeks that followed, changes swept through the Confederation. Many species began training in human-style adaptability. Some even requested human instructors to teach them how to think beyond their specialized traits. John found himself negotiating Earth's new position in the galactic hierarchy. No longer dismissed as weak, humans were now sought as advisors and allies. "They want human ships patrolling 27 systems," John told the president. "They're particularly interested in our approach to crisis management." From the bottom of the ladder to essential allies in one battle, the president mused. Quite a change. Not all aliens welcomed this shift. Some feared what humans might become with access to advanced technology. Others resented the sudden rise in status of the soft species. Peter discovered messages between concerned Confederation officials. "They're worried about our potential," he told John. "One report calls humans evolutionary wild cards and recommends careful monitoring." John nodded. Fear and respect often go hand in hand. We need to show them we're worthy of both. On the newly established Joint Space Station Unity, Sam Collins worked with engineers from 12 different species. They marveled at his ability to combine technologies in ways they had never considered. "How do you think of these solutions?" a Hellion engineer asked him. Sam thought for a moment. "I don't see limitations. I see possibilities." Kate Jones now trained mixed-species security teams. She found that while no alien could match human endurance, many brought valuable specialized skills. "We're teaching them to be more like us," she told John during a video call. "But we're also learning from them. Their specialized traits combined with our adaptability create something new." On the final day of the transition period, the Galactic Council held a special session. John and the President represented Earth. "Today we formally recognize Earth as a full Confederation member," the Council leader announced. "Furthermore, we create a new designation, the Adaptable Species." After the session, John found Xylox waiting for him. "There's something you should know, Commander," the alien said quietly. "We've added a special notation to your species profile." He showed John his data pad. It read, "Approach with caution and respect." John raised an eyebrow. "Still afraid of us, Ambassador?" Xylox's large eyes blinked slowly. "Not afraid. Aware. Your kind turned what we saw as weakness into strength. You have no natural weapons, so you turned your entire environment into weapons. You have no armor, so you developed incredible pain tolerance and medical science. You had no specialized evolutionary path, so you became masters of adaptation." He paused, looking at the stars through a nearby window. "The truth about Earth's weakness changed how we see the galaxy. Perhaps the greatest species are not those with the sharpest claws or the strongest armor, but those who can become whatever they need to be." John smiled. "That's the most human thing I've ever heard you say, Ambassador." "Perhaps," Xylox replied. "That is not such a bad thing after all." As they looked out at the stars, both knew the galaxy would never be the same. The truth was out, and it had indeed terrified the galaxy, but it had also given it hope.